Welcome to Module 3, Exercise and Lifestyle Physical Activity in MS. Let's first review our objectives for this module. This module is intended to define your role as a wellness professional and help you better understand the exercise recommendations for all levels of ability. By the end of this module, you should gain the confidence to create safe and effective workouts for those living with MS. First, it's important as fitness and wellness professionals to understand your role as you teach activities that focus on movement to positively impact the lives of those living with MS. Remember to stay within your realm of expertise, and when needed, refer on to the appropriate health professional. Share information and expertise, but refrain from giving personal interpretations or advice or offering specific treatment recommendations. Rehab professionals focus on therapeutic services with goals that differ from those of general fitness instruction. So here are a few do's and don'ts to ensure effective and safe workouts. Do gauge fitness experience by using appropriate assessment tools. This could be learning the history of the client's background with fitness, basic fitness assessment tools. Make sure you take a look at the additional resources for some screening tools. However, don't assess symptoms. And make sure you stay within your realm of practice and expertise. It's always a great idea to connect with other healthcare providers who work with your client to make sure that exercises and movements are complementary to their care plan. Do make time to rest. As you've learned in previous modules, rest is encouraged to help manage energy levels, cool body temperature down, and check in. Don't dismiss clients' concerns. This will limit their trust and possibly make them push themselves beyond their abilities. Do encourage journaling to help record progress being made and also to keep track of symptoms. Don't assume that clients will verbalize their needs. This is why it's so important to check in and discuss what they've realized through journaling. Do encourage the participant to perform the activity independently, providing hands-on assistance only if needed and for guiding and cueing and safety. Don't attempt to transfer a client or allow others in the class to assist. Like previously mentioned, it's important to stay within your expertise. Refer participants to others for accurate advice about matters outside your field. People with MS and without always ask, how hard should I work? How do I know how hard I'm working? As wellness professionals, you are aware of the ways to measure intensity, whether that's using heart rate, rate of perceived exertion, or the talk test. In most healthy adults, using heart rate is a great way to measure intensity. However, the challenge when working with people with MS is making sure to help them manage their energy levels and keeping in mind MS fatigue, muscular fatigue. Those things may hinder a client from reaching or sustaining that heart rate zone for an extended period of time. This is where RPE, rate of perceived exertion, may be a more appropriate tool to use since this is based off of how hard the client feels they are working. As you learn, MS affects individuals differently and sometimes on a daily basis. This tool may help clients learn to listen to their bodies and be aware of how hard they can push themselves that day. It also allows for flexibility. Remember, you want to create an environment that encourages clients to listen to their bodies and rest when they need to. When it comes to working with people living with MS, understanding the different training variations and formats will help you decide what makes the most sense for your clients' needs and abilities, taking into account their symptoms. These two charts show a continuous workout format with continuous moderate level of intensity with minimal rest, compared to HIIT training, short bursts of high levels of intensity followed by rest periods. Based on recent research from 2019 that looked at HIIT training for people with MS, research showed that cardiovascular fitness in people with MS is lower compared to healthy controls, and it's inversely correlated with disease severity and impairment. As many wellness professionals know, benefits of HIIT over continuous moderate intensity training include shorter time required to achieve the comparable or even better results. High intensity bursts and shorter exercise intervals, less than 2 minutes, have been found to be more enjoyable than continuous moderate intensity training. HIIT decreases the risk of an increase in heat sensitivity during exercise, which, as you've learned, is an extremely important factor to consider. In studies with lower EDSS scores of under 6, HIIT showed to have improvement of VO2 peak or VO2 max. And lastly, HIIT versus cycle ergometry is safe and effective in improving fitness in people with MS. Now, though this research is compelling and it shows lots of promise, there are limitations to consider and understand that HIIT may not be appropriate fit for everyone living with MS. Some of these limitations include there's limited research on individuals with progressive MS and greater impairment. That would be with an EDSS score of over 6. Limited HIIT research using upper limb ergometry, whether that's using a hand cycle versus cycle ergometry. Further research needs to be investigated with using upper limb ergometry for people with higher levels of disability. Additional research on HIIT is needed to examine the benefits beyond muscular strength and cardiovascular fitness. Again, you know your client and their needs, but keep this in mind when creating workout programs. In the next few slides, we will be looking at the recommendations for exercise and lifestyle physical activity for the different levels of ability. As fitness and wellness professionals, you are already aware of some of the exercise types, but here's a quick overview of a few things that are found to be beneficial and safe for those living with MS. Aerobic. Obviously, this helps improve and maintain cardiovascular health. Resistance. This is any kind of strength exercises that uses any form of resistance, whether that's bands, body weight, free weights. This helps improve and maintain strength and range of motion. Flexibility, this is any kind of stretching or yoga. This helps improve or maintain range of motion, flexibility, and this sometimes can improve spasticity. Neuromotor, this may be a new one for some of you. Neuromotor exercise training integrates various motor skills, including balance, coordination, walking, agility, proprioception, which is being aware of where you are, where your body is in space, hand-eye coordination, postural stability. This also targets fall prevention, and all of these things help to improve or maintain independence and movement. Neuromotor exercises also include dual tasking or using a combination of skills such as focusing on posture while walking or tossing a ball while sidestepping. And lastly, breathing. When it comes to breathing, there are a few different strategies that people with MS can practice. First, there's relaxation breathing, which requires mental focus on the rate of breathing. This has been found to be helpful for stress reduction, relaxation, and more. Another breathing exercise strategy is inspiratory muscle training. This should be done if the physician agrees this is safe for the person. With this breathing strategy, the use of a spirometer is a low-cost way to structure the breathing and provide a visual goal for each breath. This type of breathing exercise can be an important cardiovascular exercise to maintain and improve lung function, especially for those who don't have other ways to get out of breath when exercising. In the next few slides, we are going to look at the exercise and lifestyle physical activity recommendations for those who require little to no support. This would be someone with an EDSS of 0 to 4.4. For patients at this level of ability, they're able to exercise with little restriction. But as we've mentioned a few times, their MS may look different and their energy levels or strength may vary day to day. The recommendations look very similar to recommendations for active adults. The goal is 150 minutes a week, which includes aerobic, resistance training, flexibility, as well as neuromotor. For more specific recommendations, please review the exercise paper. For aerobic, 2 different modalities might include arm, leg, or a combined cycle ergometry, treadmill, overground walking, rowing, running, jogging, even aquatic activities, or upright stepping. For resistance, modalities might include weight machines or free weights, resistance bands, or body exercises. For the key message for this particular group, exercise is beneficial even if a person must do it a little bit differently than they have in the past. For those who require little to no support, you may want to consider incorporating HIIT training into their routine. As mentioned earlier, HIIT training is an effective format for people living with MS. This includes moderate intensity at about 70% of their max heart rate, or a 4 to 8 on the rate of perceived exertion scale. People with MS are encouraged to do 150 minutes a week of exercise and/or lifestyle physical activity. As we learned earlier, lifestyle physical activity is self-selected activities that include all leisure, occupational, or household activities that are at least moderate to vigorous in their intensity. For those that require little to no support, encourage them to track their steps, either with a fitness tracker or a journal. Maybe have them shoot for 7,500 steps or more. Other ways they can incorporate lifestyle physical activity in their lives could include gardening, road cycling, hiking with poles, individual and team sports, and dancing. Here's a quick look at what a mock exercise could look like that incorporates all the exercise types. Again, the goal is 150 minutes a week, focusing on quality over quantity, which includes good form and progression in time and intensity. We are now going to look at the exercise and lifestyle physical activity recommendations for those who require a moderate level of support. This would be someone with an EDSS of 5 to 6.5. This level of ability may require the use of an assisted device like a cane or a walker. Their level of ability may be more impacted by their MS symptoms. For the most part, the recommendations are the same as those who require little to no support. However, if and when balance is affected, adaptations to the exercise or the environment can reduce the risk of falls. Also, the use of assistive devices may be found useful and can be properly evaluated and suggested by a physical therapist or provider. These devices could include a cane, a walker, or an AFO. The use of neuromuscular electrical stimulation, like a TENS or a TENS unit or an FES, during exercise is an option if you are trained on how to use it properly. For more specific recommendations, please review the exercise paper. At the end of the day, the key message is exercise is possible for people with increasing disability, and as disability increases, assure safety, proper form, and appropriate intensity. Again, lifestyle physical activity should be included throughout their week. For this level of ability, adapted leisure activities can help increase physical activity levels. According to the exercise paper recently published by the National MS Society, a decline in the amount of physical activity often parallels the person's reluctance to use a more progressive mobility device. So encouraging individuals to be open to using appropriate mobility devices to help conserve energy and prevent falls can allow them to safely incorporate activity back into their lives. Encourage participants to get evaluated by a physical therapist or provider to determine if an assistive device would be recommended. Here's what a mock workout would look like for those that require a moderate level of support. If exercises can be done standing, great. But if fatigue, muscle fatigue, or any other symptoms worsen throughout the workout, seated would be a great way to modify and conserve energy. We are now going to look at the recommendations for those who require higher levels of support. This is individuals with an EDSS of 7 to 9. The level of disability in this population of clients is higher, so the recommendations will look different and the goals will vary. Some fitness professionals may not work with individuals with this level of disability, but what's important to note is that exercise at this level is just as important, and knowing what to focus on will allow these individuals to remain active. For this level of ability, someone with an EDSS of 7 to 7.5, they will be an individual who uses a wheelchair with limited mobility in their lower extremities. Their fatigue and muscle strength will also be impacted, so as you can see, the duration and intensity is different. However, there is an emphasis on lower and upper extremity exercises as well as core. These are really important to incorporate because this allows individuals to maintain and improve strength so they can help assist with transferring and performing activities of daily living. For more examples, make sure you review the exercise paper. These individuals spend much of their day sitting, and with fewer options to improve motor function and fitness, maintaining core strength is so key, as well as getting up and out of their chairs as much as possible. The overall recommendation for an individual who has an EDSS of 8 to 8.5 is up to 10 to 15 minutes a day, 3 to 7 days a week, with rest in between reps. For more specific recommendations, make sure you review the exercise paper. For these individuals, they will most likely be using a power wheelchair. with limited to no ability in their lower extremities and possibly upper extremities. Trunk stability may be affected as well. You may not encounter clients with this level of disability unless maybe you work in a rehab space, but it's still important to note what they can and should be doing to remain active. The level of physical ability with someone at an EDSS of 9 has very limited mobility. However, staying active is still just as important, and we want to encourage clients to do what they can. So, though the recommendations are fewer, these exercises are critical to their well-being. The goal is to get up to about 10 minutes a day, 3 to 7 days a week, as tolerated, with rest as needed. Not all of these exercises will be appropriate for everyone, since the level of ability from an EDSS of 7 to 9 varies. However, these are some possible exercise options that can be incorporated. When it comes to working with the MS population who require a higher level of support, using adaptive equipment may allow for clients to be able to perform exercises more successfully. There are a lot of great pieces of equipment that are helpful for allowing modifications or adaptations for people with physical limitations. So, depending on your facility and what you have access to, here are a few options to consider. For those with a weakened grip strength, try using adaptive gloves to help hold on to equipment. For those that are properly trained, FES bikes or functional electrical stimulation is a great way to provide electrical stimulation to specific muscle groups during exercise. There are a lot of pieces of adaptive cardio equipment like hand bikes, crank bikes, wheelchair treadmills, some row machines, recumbent bikes, and more. These typically have a seat that rotates and can be used with one or both upper and lower extremities. Gait belts are also a wonderful tool to use for those who need extra assistance or stability when walking or doing exercises. In addition to the equipment previously mentioned, standing frames are a great piece of equipment for those who are unable to stand independently. Just like this slide says, standing is an exercise too, and having access to a standing frame during a workout session or at home if that's possible can provide a lot of benefits as seen in this slide. People with significant disabilities spend much of their day sitting, with few options to improve motor function and fitness. This results in secondary physical and psychosocial complications that invite other health conditions like obesity to directly affect MS. Reducing sedentary behavior and enhancing motor function is critical. There are a variety of ways to help get individuals standing. Obviously, keep in mind their safety. This could be as simple as standing at a counter, or situating a chair immediately behind them, or having a care partner stand behind them as they stand. A standing frame is another way to do this. A standing frame offers passive support at the knees, hips, and trunk, allowing an individual who may be too weak to walk and/or have poor balance the opportunity to bear weight on their feet and interact with people in a more functional standing position. One study set out to assess the clinical and cost effectiveness of a home-based, self-managed standing frame program in 150 individuals with progressive MS. Participants were given a wooden standing frame, instructed in its use at home, and then asked to stand for 30 minutes at least 3 times a week for over 20 weeks, and record the frequency and duration of each stand in a daily diary. They were encouraged to increase their stand time and were given online advice and DVDs from the study team. Results showed that compared with the usual care alone, the use of a standing frame plus usual care resulted in significant improvement in motor function. Some improvements were also seen in hip and ankle range of motion and quality of life. So as we can tell, standing is an exercise and there are a lot of benefits to it if it's possible and safe. The key message for anyone with an EDSS of a 7 to 9.0 is daily physical activity is essential. Be creative and think outside the box to make sure that exercising is enjoyable. Functional movement is physical activity. This includes activities of daily living, getting dressed, to grooming, cooking, or folding laundry. This can also include shifting weights while standing or seated. Adaptive sports or physical activity may also be beneficial to incorporate into their lives. Rehab professionals can help clients learn to integrate physical activity into their day. Ultimately, the goal is to maintain safety while creating a fun way for people living with MS to keep moving. Up next is our final module, Barriers and Facilitators to Exercise and Lifestyle Physical Activity.